Hello everyone. In this lecture, we will discuss deep and surface structure. The concept of deep and surface structure was given by Noam Chomsky in 1957 in his famous publication Syntactic Structure. The idea of deep and surface structure was given by Noam Chomsky when he was discussing transformational generative grammar. So let's learn what is deep and surface structure. Two superficially different sentences are shown in this example. First sentence is Charlie broke the window, and second one is the window was broken by Charlie. Here we have two sentences, and these two sentences are the example of surface structure because the underlying meaning behind these two sentences is one, or the idea which is given by these two sentences is a single one. We will elaborate this concept on coming slide in detail. In traditional grammar, the first is called an active sentence, right? Charlie broke the window. Traditional grammar, or traditionally we call it an active sentence, and the second one as a passive sentence, focusing on what Charlie did. And the second is a passive sentence focusing on the window and what happened to it. The distinction between them is a difference in their surface structure. That is the different syntactic form they have as individual English sentence. So this sentence has its own syntactic form, and this sentence has its own syntactic form, right? So traditionally we call them two different sentences. Now, however, the superficial differences in form disguises the fact that the two sentences are very closely related, even identical at some less superficial level, and that some less superficial level is called deep structure because these two sentences give the same or nearly the same idea. This other underlying level where the basic component noun phrase plus verb plus noun phrase shared by the two sentences can be represented is called the deep structure. Here we can see Charlie, that is a noun phrase, and broke, that is a verb phrase, and the window, again it's a noun phrase. And in the second sentence, the window, that is the noun phrase, was broken, that is a verb phrase, and by Charlie, again is a noun phrase. So in both sentences we have the same deep structure, right? Okay. The deep structure is an abstract level of structural organization in which all the elements determining structural interpretation are represented. Now, that same deep structure can be the source of many other surface structure, such as it was Charlie who broke the window and was the window was broken by Charlie. So in these two sentences again, that it was Charlie who broke the window. It was Charlie is a noun phrase, and was who broke is a verb phrase, and the window is a noun phrase. And was the window, again a noun phrase. Was the window broken, it is a verb phrase, and by Charlie is a noun phrase. In short, the grammar must be capable of showing how a single underlying abstract representation can become different surface structure. So we may have several surface structures, but behind those all surface structures we may have a single idea, and that single idea would be known as a deep structure. Now we will define here what is a surface structure. A sentence surface structure is exactly what we read on the page or hear a person says. So what is a surface structure? What we hear, whatever I say, these all are surface structures. Or if I write something on a page, that would be a surface structure of a sentence, right? Okay, Surface structure is the actual spoken sentences comprising phoneme, syllable, verse, phrases, and sentences. Then what is a deep structure? Deep structure actually it is an abstract level. So surface structure, it is a concrete level, the way we hear sentences, the way we utter sentences, and the way we write sentences. While deep structure, it is an abstract level, right? That is in mind. So what is a deep structure? A sentence most basic unit of meaning. When we talk about the meaning, so meaning that is in a mind. So deep structure, the underlying meaning of a sentence. This is called in deep structure. So a single idea constituting a deep structure can be expressed in a number of different surface structure. So we may have one idea that would be deep structure, and it can be represented through several surface structures. And conversely, similar surface structures can have completely different deep structure. For example, if we say John hits Fred, it's a deep structure. So we can say that John hit Fred is also like a surface structure, and John was hitting Fred is also surface structure, and Fred was hit by John, it's also a surface structure. So one idea is represented through three different surface structures, right? Now, sometimes we may have structural ambiguity. What is structural ambiguity? That one structure may have more than two meanings. Let's discuss. Let's say we have two distinct deep structures. Sometimes we have two distinct deep structures, and these two distinct deep structures are represented by one surface structure. So one expresses the idea that Annie had an umbrella and she bumped into a man with it. We have two deep structure. One is that Annie had an umbrella. It's one idea. And the second one is she bumped into a man with it. She had an umbrella and she bumped a man with it. It's a second idea. So the other expressed the idea that Annie bumped into a man and the man happened to be carrying an umbrella. So one idea is that Annie had an umbrella and she bumped into a man with it. She was having an umbrella and she bumped a man, okay, with it. And the other expressed the idea that Annie bumped into a man and the man happened to be carrying an umbrella. And in the second one, we see that the man was carrying umbrella. In the first idea, that Annie was carrying an umbrella. And in the second, that the man was carrying an umbrella. Now, these two different versions of event can actually be expressed in the same surface structure form. For example, Annie bumped into a man with an umbrella. So here we have structural ambiguity. When you say that Annie bumped into a man with an umbrella, so it has two different interpretations. One is that Annie bumped into a man with them. Annie was having an umbrella and she bumped into a man. And the second was that Annie bumped into a man with umbrella. That the man was carrying umbrella. Annie was not carrying an umbrella. So we have two different interpretation of this surface structure. It has two distinct underlying interpretation that have to be represented differently in deep structure. So in deep structure, okay, we have different ideas. Okay, we have two different ideas, and in a surface structure we have one sentence here, right? Let me repeat if you have any problem. One idea that Annie had an umbrella and she bumped into a man with it. Annie was carrying an umbrella and she bumped into a man. Okay, the other expressed the idea that Annie bumped into a man. And the man was happened to be carrying an umbrella. In the second idea, that it was a man who was carrying an umbrella and Annie bumped into him. Now these two different versions of event can actually be expressed in the same surface structure form. Okay, we can represent these two different versions, two different ideas in one surface structure. Annie bumped into a man with an umbrella. So then there is a structural ambiguity. Someone might think that Annie was carrying an umbrella and she bumped into a man. And someone else may understand that she bumped into a man and the man was carrying an umbrella. Right? So this is called structural ambiguity. Now the comedians Groucho's Marx knew how to have fun with structural ambiguity. In the films Animals, Crackers, he first says, I once shot an elephant in my pajama, then follows it with how he got into my pajama. Right? So I'll never know, in the non-funny interpretation, part of the underlying structures of the first sentence could be something like, I shot an element while I was in my pajama. This is the first interpretation. If I say, for example, let come the same sentence, that he said that I once shot an elephant in my pajama. So one interpretation that I was in my pajama and I shot an animal. And the second interpretations can be that I shot an elephant and the elephant was wearing my pajama. Right? So in the other, I shot an umbrella while I was in my pajama. And in the other interpretation, part of the underlying structures would be something like I shot an elephant which was in my pajama. So if you want to make people laugh, so you can have such kind of structures ambiguity. Most often we see that comedian, they use such kind of structures to make people laugh, to have several meaning of the same structure. So there are two different underlying structures with the same surface structures. So we have two different ideas, two different notion, two different version with the sentence I once shot an elephant in my umbrella. It seems one surface structure, but it has two different version or two different underlying ideas. Now, phrases can also be structurally ambiguous, as in expression like small boys and girls. The underlying interpretation can be either a small boys and a small girls, or small boys and all girls. Now, you can see when we say that small boys and small girls. So someone might think that only the boys are smalls, while girls are not. And someone might think that all small boys and girls also and boys also. So we have one surface structure, but we have two different interpretation, two different version, two different ideas. Right? So our syntactic analysis will have to be capable of showing the structure's distinction between these underlying representations. So we use the structures in such a way that one surface structure represents two different versions or two different ideas. So thank you so much. It was all about deep and surface structures. So I hope you would have gotten the idea that what is deep and surface structure, which was originally introduced by a linguist, Noam Chomsky, in 1957 in his famous publication Syntactic Structures. And then inside syntactic structure, when he was discussing transformational generative grammar, so he also discussed the concept of deep and surface structures. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the channel, and please provide your valuable comments in the comment box. Thank you so much.